Mangwanani malelepo fukenjani kaipas wanawe Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening in the SADC region and beyond. Today is Tuesday, the 21st of September, and as usual, you're joined by Ashwin Berry and Aina Raisa Kweyo.
Welcome to Africa Good Morning. Today is World Gratitude Day, which is celebrated annually on the 21st of September. The celebration of Gratitude Days allow both individual citizens and organizations within a wider society to celebrate the broad meaning of gratitude in a variety of different ways. And here is more on Gratitude Day. Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. In our top stories, towards Africa's first mRNA vaccine technology transfer hub. The World Health Organization, a South African consortium, and partners from COVAX are working to set up a technology transfer hub for mRNA vaccines in South Africa to help boost and scale up vaccine production in Africa. The initiative marks a major advance in efforts to build vaccine development and manufacturing capacity that will put Africa on a path to self-determination, said South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa at the launch of the initiative in June. The Technology Transfer Hub in South Africa will teach African manufacturers how to make mRNA vaccines like Pfizer and Moderna COVID-19 vaccines here in Africa. Foreign manufacturers will share their techniques with local institutions, and World Health Organization and partners will bring in production know-how, quality control, and will assist with the necessary licenses.
In our second story, heroic return for 4 opponents of ousted Guinean president. 4 figures of the mobilization against a third term of former President Alpha Condé received a triumphant welcome on Saturday in the streets of Conakry. The triumphant return to Guinea of the 4 figures turned into a demonstration of thousands of people, which caused a monster traffic jam on Saturday, 18 September in Conakry. Guinea's ruling junta on Saturday ruled out exile for detained former President Alpha Condé and said transition towards civilian rule would be done in accordance with the will of the people. It also followed the visit on Friday of a mission from ECOWAS led by 2 heads of state from the 15-member West African bloc. During their visit, the Ghanaian head of state Nana Akufo-Addo, whose country holds the rotating presidency of ECOWAS, and his Ivorian counterpart Alassane Ouattara presented the junta with the organization's demands for elections within 6 months. They also insisted on the release of Condé.
Vaccination ramp up in Africa, but still not enough. African countries administered 4 times as many COVID vaccines as they have in the past 3 to 4 weeks. This is according to World Health Organization's Africa Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Machidisi Moeti. Moeti said the increase in vaccination is due to fast-tracked delivery of the doses. Dr. Moeti added that she expects at least 470 million doses to be delivered to African countries via the COVAX facility by December this year. She said although this remains encouraging, the doses would only be enough to vaccinate 17% of Africans, with at least double that amount needed to reach the 40% of the population. Africa still remains behind the rest of the world in vaccination administered, with only 3.6% of the continent's population fully vaccinated. The regional director once again called on countries with doses exceeding their needs to share with countries that are in need.
Now in Mozambique, Samim captures insurgents training base. The SADC mission in Mozambique forces in support of Focas Armadas de Defensa de Moçambique launched an offensive operation and captured an Al-Suna wa Jamaa insurgent stronghold base south of Mesalo River in the Cabo Delgado province. The base is believed to be known as Sheikh Ibrahim Base and was used as a training camp by the insurgency group. During the attack, 3 elderly women were rescued and have since been handed over to the national authorities for identification and aftercare. This capture and discovery will provide more insight on the operations of the insurgency group and provide SADC countries with information on the threat level of terrorism and extremism in the region. Samim forces in support of the government of Mozambique continue to create conditions necessary for a return to normal life in the province of Cabo Delgado as it pursues the insurgents.
President withdraws power from Prime Minister. Somali President Mohamed Abdullahi yesterday withdrew executive powers from Prime Minister Mohamed Robel in a new episode of tension between the two, which is weakening the country while the United Nations is calling for containment. The two politicians, who have had a tense relationship for several months, have openly clashed twice in the past 10 days, with the dismissal and appointments to crucial positions in the security apparatus. On the 5th of September, Mohamed Robel fired the head of the Information and Security Services Agency, Fahad Yassin, a close friend of the president, for his handling of the investigation into mysterious disappearance of one of his agents, Ikrana Tahlil. But the head of state cancelled this decision, which he considered illegal and unconstitutional, and then named a replacement of his choice after promoting Fahad Yassin to National Security Advisor. After accusing the president of obstructing the investigation of the agent's disappearance and deeming his decision a dangerous existential threat for the country, the Prime Minister announced last week that he was replacing the Minister of Security, a decision that the president also considered unconstitutional.
In the next story, Tedros seen running unopposed for WHO job. The World Health Organization chief looks set to run unopposed for a second term at the helm as he tries to guide the world through its biggest health crisis in a century, sources said. However, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus lacks the support of his native Ethiopia due to friction over the Tigray conflict, the sources told Reuters. Tedros, whom an Ethiopian general has publicly called a criminal and accused of trying to procure weapons for Tigrayan forces, is not expected to be nominated by his government, as is the diplomatic custom, 2 senior Ethiopian officials told Reuters. Consultations are underway, including among African countries, about who will propose his candidacy before the September 23 deadline, 2 of the sources said. Ethiopia's opposition to Tedros places some African nations in a quandary. Africa's second most populous nation is a diplomatic heavyweight and hosts the African Union headquarters. Its sway over the African Union means Tedros is unlikely to have the institution's united backing, as he did last time, but diplomats say he still enjoys support from some African nations.
In our next story, Hotel Rwanda hero Paul Rusesabagina found guilty of terrorism. A court in Rwanda says the man who inspired Hotel Rwanda, Paul Rusesabagina, is guilty of terror-related offenses. Rusesabagina boycotted Monday's announcement after declaring he didn't expect justice in a trial he called a sham. He has so far been found guilty of the formation of an illegal armed group and membership in a terrorist group. Ruling comes more than a year after Rusesabagina disappeared during a visit to Dubai and appeared days later in Rwanda in handcuffs, accused of supporting the armed wings of opposition political platform Rwanda Movement for Democratic Change. The group claimed he The group claimed he had some responsibility in the attacks of 2018 and 2019 in the south of the country, which 9 Rwandans died. Rusesabagina maintained his innocence, and his family alleges he was kidnapped and taken to Rwanda against his will.
Zimbabwe's ruling party, ZANU-PF, endorses Mnangagwa as sole 2023 presidential candidate. The ruling ZANU-PF party has endorsed President Emmerson Mnangagwa as its presidential candidate in the 2023 harmonized elections. Mnangagwa will be seeking his second and final term as the country's president, as the 2013 constitution imposed a 2-term limit for the president. ZANU-PF Harare provincial chairperson Goodwill's Masimirembwa said Mnangagwa shall be the sole ZANU-PF presidential candidate for the 2023 harmonized elections. In Gweru, the ZANU-PF Midlands Provincial Administration Secretary Nugget Manyiwa said all the province's party organs had endorsed Mnangagwa. In 2018, the opposition MDC Alliance presidential candidate Nelson Chamisa was Mnangagwa's closest challenger after he garnered over 40% of the vote. The two are expected to engage in another bruising battle in 2023, with ZANU-PF currently on a campaign to recruit 5 million voters, while the MDC Alliance is targeting 6 million.
Illegal immigration tends to increase, and this is in Angola. Lunda Norte authorities warned that the province registers daily the entry of hundreds of illegal immigrants, mostly from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The complaint was made by the Provincial Director of Migration and Foreign Services Commissioner Fernando Costa on the sideline of the IV ordinary session of the local government chaired by Governor Ernesto Mwagula. Speaking to the press, the Migration Commissioner said that the SME daily repatriates 100 or more illegal alliances who in less than 7 days returned to the territory of Lunda Norte province. He added that despite the land and river borders between Angola and the DRC being closed since last year due to COVID-19, illegal immigrants use various forms with a view to reaching their preferred areas. According to Fernando Costas, immigrants enter the national territory with duly defined objectives, especially diamond mining, smuggling of goods, illicit trades, installation of religious sects, as well as the exploitation and trafficking in people, particularly minors.
Now in Malawi, death toll in Chitipa road accident rises to 9. The death toll in the fatal road accident involving a lorry at Kasege River along Ifumbo Lufita Earth Road in Chitipa district has now risen to 9. This follows the death of one of the victims admitted at Chitipa District Hospital. Chitipa police spokesperson Gladwell Simwaka has confirmed this in an interview with the press. Simwaka says 63 others remain injured and one is in critical condition. Meanwhile, driver of the Fuso fighter lorry with registration number RU1141, which had over 70 members of the African International Church on board, only identified as Kingsley Mlenga, is reportedly at large. The church members were traveling from Ifumbo after a religious meeting to Lufita in the same district.
Zimbabwe to miss AU's 2023 border mapping deadline. Zimbabwe is lagging behind in mapping the country's border in line with the African Union border program, with only 20% having demarcated since 2011. The AUBP was adopted in 2007 under the theme Preventing Conflicts and Promoting Integration, with ambitious goals of delimitation and demarcation of African boundaries. The deadline is 2023. However, findings of the Public Account Parliamentary Committee presented in Parliament last week revealed that only 20% of the exercise has been covered by the country in 8 years, and as a result, the 2023 target by the AUBP will be missed. The Public Accounts Parliamentary Committee announced its investigation in May 2019, but only completed receiving oral evidence in March 2020.
Now, in a sad development with regards to nature, 300,000 hectares burned down in Etosha. The fire was brought under control and monitoring continues. About 3,000 square kilometers were destroyed, said Mr. Romeo Muyunda, spokesman for the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, telling the Republican yesterday. No wildlife was injured or killed, he said. In addition to the extensive damage to pasture in the game reserve, at least 31 farms have burned down partially or completely since 4 September. It appears that the Veld fire started on 4 September on the farm Noma east of Ocho and spread due to strong winds in a westerly and easterly direction. Negligence in making charcoal was apparently the reason for this. A second wildfire later broke out on the southern border of Etosha when the blade of a road scraper caused a spark. It was claimed on WhatsApp groups over the weekend that fire breaks in Etosha were not being maintained. Furthermore, firefighters apparently also struggled to gain access to the national park due to paperwork that had to be completed first. That's the kind of situation we definitely don't want to spread. This is Still Africa. Good morning, and we have much more news for you after the break. Special drawing rights are a mechanism that the International Monetary Fund uses to alleviate economic woes of member countries, including several countries in Africa. This video explains how SDRs work.
The Special Drawing Right, or SDR, was created by the IMF in 1969 to supplement the official reserves of its member countries. The SDR is an interest-bearing international reserve asset that can only be held by the IMF, its member countries, and designated official entities known as prescribed holders. In addition to this role, the SDR serves as the unit of account of the IMF and several other international organizations. The IMF's financing arrangements with its member countries are denominated in SDRs. The value and yield of the SDR are defined using a basket of major currencies, which are selected due to their importance in the world's trading and financial systems. The SDR value is calculated daily, while its interest rate is determined on a weekly basis. The IMF Executive Board reviews the composition of the SDR basket every 5 years. This composition is revised to reflect major changes in the roles of various currencies in the world economy, and thus to enhance the attractiveness of the SDR as a reserve asset. In its most recent review in 2015, the board expanded the basket to include a fifth currency, the Chinese renminbi. The basket will now include the US dollar, euro, Chinese renminbi, Japanese yen, and pound sterling. SDRs are allocated to members in proportion to their IMF quotas and relative economic standing in the world economy. Every 5 years, the IMF reviews whether there is a global need for additional international reserves to justify a new allocation of SDRs. The most recent and by far the largest allocation took place in 2009 as part of the response to the global financial crisis.
Currently, the amount of SDRs stands at over 204 billion.
These allocations provide each member with on-demand access to freely usable currencies. Members can exchange SDRs for freely usable currencies from other members to meet a balance of payments need or to adjust the composition of their reserves. The SDR is therefore not a currency, nor a claim on the IMF, but a potential claim on the freely usable currencies of IMF members. At the time of the allocation, a member country is assigned two positions of the same amount: its SDR allocation and its SDR holdings. It receives interest on its holdings and pays interest on its allocation. The interest earned by a member on its holdings and paid out on its allocations are both based on the SDR interest rate. This means they cancel out completely as long as SDR holdings are equal to SDR allocations. The SDR market functions primarily through voluntary trading arrangements, or VTAs. Under these arrangements facilitated by the IMF, members volunteer to buy or sell SDRs. If a member exchanges SDRs for freely usable currencies, its SDR holdings fall while its foreign currency reserves rise. If its holdings fall below its cumulative allocations, it has to pay interest on the shortfall. If a member exchanges freely usable currencies for SDRs, its SDR holdings rise above its cumulative allocations, and it earns interest on the excess. In the event that there is insufficient capacity under the voluntary trading arrangements, the IMF can activate the designation mechanism, where it calls upon members with strong external positions to purchase SDRs from members with weak external positions. The value of the SDR as a reserve asset thus derives from the right to exchange it for freely usable currencies. Through this, the SDR plays an important role in providing liquidity to the global economic system.
If you're feeling how I'm feeling and you know I won't stop, all we gotta do is take our love to the top. If I got it and you want it and you'll never let it drop, all we gotta do is take our love to the top. I will ride for you, baby, even die for you. When I'm loving you, but my heart don't stop.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. Right now it's time for us to cross over to the House of Stone and talk to Talent Gore. Good morning, Talent. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. Members of the Parliament push for a 25% youth quota in Parliament. Please tell us more.
Members of Parliament in Zimbabwe have ordered Justice Minister Ziyambi to craft a bill amending the constitution to increase the youth quota in Parliament from 10% to 25% by December 31st, 2021. The members of Parliament said that although government had created structures that accommodated youth participation and representation, the youth were the majority in the country and there was need to increase their thresholds by 25%. They said that the young people in Zimbabwe, they face stiff competition from financially sound adults, hence thus limiting their chances of success, making the need to increase their threshold in necessity. The constitution of Zimbabwe provides for the election of 350 members of parliament, and President Emmerson Mnangagwa had approved only 10 youths to be proportionally elected to represent youths in parliament. So the members of parliament are saying that the justice minister should write a bill that should amend the the constitution to increase the youth quota in parliament by December 31st, 2021.
All right, now in your next update, talent members of parliament in government argue over forced vaccination in parliament. Tell us about that.
Business almost came to standstill in parliament when members of parliament from the political divide accused government of breaking the constitution. They challenged government's recent decision to ban unvaccinated civil servants from reporting for duty. The legislators described the move as unconstitutional, but the government defended the cabinet's decision, arguing that extraordinary times they call for the suspension of the constitution. Government on Tuesday announced that its workers who are not yet vaccinated will not be allowed to report for duty a week after Justice Minister had ordered that all civil servants who refuse to be jabbed, they should resign. The parliamentarian said that the parliamentarian said that the order was an offense to democracy because after the order by government, all parliamentarians were ordered to be vaccinated, and if they're not vaccinated, they are not allowed to attend court sessions. So they said that this was an offense to democracy, as the constitution said that people should be allowed to be vaccinated and not be vaccinated. That should be a choice of their own, and that the government's decision to force people to be vaccinated was unconstitutional.
All right, rights groups petition SADC over President Mnangagwa's continued ban on a holding by elections. Please tell us more.
Civil society organizations have petitioned SADC, Southern Africa Development Community, to intervene and push for Harare to hold by-elections in all vacant local council and parliamentary seats. Last year, the government suspended by-elections as the country grappled with the global COVID-19 pandemic. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission also endorsed President Emmerson Mnangagwa's declaration of coronavirus as a national disaster and postponed all electoral activities until further notice. However, the civil society organizations have since accused the government of using COVID-19 as an excuse to stifle opposition political parties and close the democratic space in Zimbabwe. They are saying that at least 8 local council and 40 parliamentary seats are vacant, and most of these became vacant in 2020 and early this year when MDC party recalled some of its councillors and members of parliament, claiming that they had defected and joined the MDC Alliance party, and some are vacant due to deaths. So they say that we have seen that in the SADC region, some countries, they are holding elections are taking place, and it is only in Zimbabwe that elections are not taking place. So they have called on the Southern Africa Development Community to intervene and push Harare to at least hold by-elections so that they can select, so that the citizens can select their representatives in parliament and also at local government level.
Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
Always good to have you on Africa Good Morning. Something that's also always good to have is good weather. But you know, we can't make that happen. All we can do is observe the weather forecast. Up next. At the beginning of September, the United Nations launched a report on interconnected disaster risks. This research documents the relationship between events like cyclones, floods, and droughts, all caused by the impact of human activity on our environment. In the next insert produced by the United Nations University, Susan Mombi Karanja shares her experience of the locust plague in Kenya. She is a farmer with 6 children. Have a look.
Kati nzige ilikuja mwezi wa 3, nilikuwa kwa shamba. Nilikuwa nafalilia kabichi. Tukaona imetokea huko kwa milima, imejaa. Kwa majina naitwa Susan Mombi Karanja, nakaa kijiji inaitwa Kalema na Nyandarua County. Sasa tukashindwa, tukaanza kusukua sufuria, kitu yoyote iko na sauti ndio iende. Ikakataa kabisa. Sasa ikafamia chakula yote, mboga, karoti, viazi, kitu yote ilikuwa kwa shamba, hata ni mboga, spinach, mazaro yote ikakula. Sasa tukaashwa na njaa, hakuna kitu. Sasa serikali ikatumana hapa. Watu walikuja na gari na bobo zao, wakaanza kupiga hiyo nzige kwenye iko chakula. Tukasikia ni nzige inapigwa, lakini nyuma ya nzige ikakataa kwenda, ingine ikakufia huku na ikaharibu mashakula yote. Sasa tukakaa bila kitu. Baridi, kukiwa baridi inakuwa inalala. Jua ikiwaka ikatokea wengi, ikakunja hata uwezi kuona jua. Sasa kuna giza, ya kukula hakuna, ya kuuza hakuna, na mimi hakuna kazi. Itafanya nini? Ng'ombe ikamaliza maziwa, kwa maana hakuna mahali itakula, ni nzige. Majani ukienda kukata ni nzige. Na tena ujui hii nzige ulikuwa inaambiwa si mzuri, imepigwa dawa mahali mengine. Kutoka mtu, kuku, umbwa, hakuna kitu kilikuwa na amani. Hivyo tukagojea Mungu, tutafanya nini? Sasa mwanadamu atafanya nini? Hata wewe kuona hivi juu uoni, utakinga namna gani? Si ukae tu.
Let's turn trash into cash. My name is Nzambi Mate. I'm the founder of Jijenge Makers Limited, and we convert plastic waste into building products. Plastic waste is not just a Kenya problem, but it's a worldwide problem. And here in Nairobi, we generate about 500 metric tons of plastic waste every single day, and only a fraction of that is recycled. We decided, what more can we do instead of just sitting in the sidelines and complaining? Essentially, companies have to pay to dispose the waste. So we solve their problem. The waste essentially comes for free. This is the plastic waste we get from factories. With this, we mix with sand, as the plastic is like the binder. We have 3 machines. The extruder does the mixing of plastic waste with sand at very high temperatures. and then the press compresses it. Plastic is fibrous in nature, and so therefore the brick ends up having a stronger compression strength.
Does that look like waste to you?
It's almost half the weight, so therefore during transportation and installation it's faster in terms of cost implication. We right now have a capacity of producing 1,000 to 1,500 bricks a day. So far we have recycled 20 metric tons, and we are looking to push that value to 50 by the end of next financial year. Winning the Young Champions of the Earth award is a huge motivation booster for us as a team. It's been a long 3-year journey, and so this was like someone saying, I see what you're doing and I appreciate that. And with this platform, we're looking to see how we can get on both partners to scale this solution, not just in Kenya, but all over Africa, just to start. And in addition to that, be able to impact and motivate other people and other youths to do similar things in different places. So right now we are just making paving blocks, but we now want to make actual building blocks. As I like saying, you have to be true to your why. Why are you doing this? What is the motivation behind it? For me, I was just tired of being in the sidelines of seeing plastic. I ideally jumped in off a cliff without even a parachute. I was building it as I was falling down. But isn't that how great things are done? So act for nature.
A fabric mask acts as a barrier to prevent the spread of the virus. It must be used correctly and always combined with other measures to protect yourself and everyone else. When wearing a fabric mask, clean your hands before putting it on. Inspect the mask and do not use it if it is damaged or dirty. Cover your mouth, nose and chin. Adjust the mask to your face, leaving no gaps on the sides. Avoid touching the mask while wearing it. Change your mask once it gets dirty or wet. To take off the mask, clean your hands first. Remove it by the straps behind the head or ears without touching the front of the mask. As you remove the mask, pull it away from your face. Clean your hands after taking off any mask. If you need to reuse a fabric mask, store it in a clean, resealable bag. Hold the mask at the elastic ends when removing it from the bag and make sure it is not dirty or wet before using it again. Wash fabric masks in soap or detergent, preferably with hot water, at least once a day. Make sure you have your own mask and do not share it with others. When wearing a mask, make sure you know how to put it on, use it, remove it, and discard it or wash it correctly. Remember that a mask alone cannot protect you. When wearing a mask, continue to adopt other measures to prevent the spread of the virus. Stay at least 1 meter away from others. Clean your hands frequently and thoroughly, and avoid touching your face and mask. Stay safe, and let's all prevent the spread of COVID-19.
From putting a spotlight on important innovations to sharing essential information, you've got to love Africa. Good morning. Welcome back. It's time for us to dive straight into your economic news stories. And we start off in Botswana. BIHL profits dropped 24% on higher COVID-19 claims. The country's largest and most diversified financial services group, BIHL, saw its pre-tax profits for the first 6 months of this year drop by about 24% after the Delta variant ballooned deaths in the country, causing claims to jump 354 million pula during the period. Net insurance premium income rose to 1.56 billion pula from 1.2 billion pula last year, but the gains were undercut by higher claim payouts to policyholders as a result of COVID-19 mortalities. Botswana Life, the country's oldest and largest life insurance company, found itself faced with mounting claims within its membership, estimated at just below 300,000 policies.
Foreign exchange reserves. The DRC achieves 3.3 billion, a record never reached. Used to an exchange reserve that can often only cover 2 weeks of imports, the Democratic Republic of Congo has been performing well in the area for a few months. The country has reached 3.3 billion foreign exchange reserves, announces the governor of Central Bank of Congo, Malagu Mbui, quoted in the report of the government made by spokesperson of the executive, Patrick Muyaya. The governor of Central Bank of Congo reported on the recent financial situation on the foreign exchange market as well as goods and services. According to the same source, the various indicators attest that the microeconomic framework remains stable, but much more, Malangu Bui also shared the new record never reached in the Democratic Republic of Congo on foreign exchange reserves with more than 3.3 billion US dollars. This represents an import of more than 3 months. Unlike in 2019, where the country oscillated between foreign exchange reserve of $600 to $800 million, representing only an import of between 2 to 3 weeks.
Now in Eswatini, sugar sales revenue rises by 2.7% to 6.1 billion emaloti. In the Eswatini Sugar Association annual report for the 2020-2021 financial year, Chief Executive Officer Dr. Phil Mnisi has reported that they saw a healthy demand for sugar throughout the year. Despite the dreary initial forecast, there was a drop in overall sales from those of the previous season, 709,865 tons compared to 759,421 tons in the previous year. The CEO said while they were unable to fully satisfy customers' demands, he believed they had been able to do the best they could within capacity and against the limitations which they were presented with. He reported that mills managed to crush about 5.76 million tons of cane, which was 1.2% more than the previous season. There was also an increase in sugar production, 684,563 tons versus 673,369 tons in the previous season.
Letseng diamonds defy COVID-19. The average price of Letseng Mines rough diamonds increased during the first half of 2021 despite the COVID-19-induced global economic slowdown. This is reflected in GEM's Diamond Half-Year Performance Report for the 6 months to June 2021. Gem Diamond is with 70% the majority shareholder in Letseng Diamond, the owner of Letseng Mine. The government owns the remaining 30%. Letseng Mine is the highest dollar per carat kimberlite diamond mine in the world. In its first year report released last week, Gem Diamond said Letseng Mine achieved an average of 1,886 US per carat during the period under review compared to 1,707 per carat achieved during the first half of 2020. The report said the highest price paid per carat were achieved during the period was over $1 million for a 3.35 carat pink diamond.
Sticking with diamonds, Deb Marine's billion-dollar flagship on maiden voyage. Deb Marine, Namibia's brand new diamond recovery vessel, valued at about 7 billion Namibian dollars, left Romania last week, beginning its month-long maiden voyage to Cape Town, the company has announced. The ship was officially handed over to Deb Marine Namibia on 18 August at Damen Shipyards at the Romanian port of Mangalia. Once at Cape Town, the additional mining vessel, as it is technically known, will be fitted with mission equipment before beginning operations off the coast of Namibia early next year, a company statement read. At 177 meters, the AMV3 is the largest diamond recovery vessel in the world. It will also be the most technologically advanced marine diamond recovery vessel in the world, featuring a dynamic positioning system based on a 7-thruster propulsion system powered by 6 generators. The vessel will be Deb Marine's 7th member of its fleet and is expected to add some 500,000 carats annually to the company's diamond production. The vessel is also expected to create more than 160 jobs.
Wow.
As Aina would say, halala.
Love to see it.
We love to see it. Those were your economic news stories. Next up, economic indicators. Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. It's time for us to get into your sports news updates. And we start off in Botswana as a top athlete is facing a betting probe. One of the country's top athletes might face the wrath of World Athletics Integrity Unit over allegations of involvement in sports betting, which contravenes the rules of the game. The athlete represented the country at the just-ended Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. An incident that occurred during the Olympics alerted the authorities to possible transgressions. But BNSC Chief Executive Officer Tuwelo Serufo said he was unaware of an investigation involving the athlete. I am unaware of the investigation and would suggest that you engage the BAA president on this, he briefly responded. BAA President Papane Botlale flatly denied the reports. The 2019 World Athletics Manipulation of Sports Competition rules prohibit any form of betting related to an event or competition in athletics, including betting with another person on the result, progress, outcome, conduct, or any other aspect of such an event or competition.
In our next story, chess starlets lends scholarship. For the next 2 years, Canada's Ontario Federation of Teachers will pay school fees for chess starlet Bokang Motsamai. Now that the player has been relieved of the stress of finding tuition fee, he can now concentrate on his education while maintaining his commendable chess performance. Despite his young age, Motsamai has been exceptional in different tournaments and has made it into the national team. In July, he won the King's Birthday Tournament before winning the National Youth Championship last month. He is also one of the young players representing Lesotho in the ongoing FIDE World Youth Online Chess Championship. Apart from that, he was in the national team which competed in the 2021 FIDE Online Olympiad last month.
From the boxing ring to the political stage, Manny Pacquiao to run for Philippine president in 2022. Boxing star Manny Pacquiao says he will run for president of the Philippines next year after railing against corruption in government and what he calls President Rodrigo Duterte's cozy relationship with China. Pacquiao's presidential bid is seen by analysts as a threat to Duterte's candidate in 2022, as the boxer could split the vote in the southern island that both come from, opening the door for opposition figures. The Filipino boxer has been a senator since 2016 and also served as a congressman. Recently, however, Pacquiao has criticized the administration for alleged corruption and its South China Sea stance amid a split in the governing party. His boxing credentials, along with fighting poverty and corruption, are likely to be the key themes of his campaign.
Mboma completes golden season. Christine Mboma completed an incredible season with a victory on a Saturday when she won the women's 200 at the Kip Keino Classic in Nairobi in 22.39 seconds. It completed a fairy tale season during which she won an Olympic silver medal, a junior world champion gold medal, and 2 Diamond League races, the last one in Zurich, in which a new under-20 world record of 21.70 seconds was set. Boma's coach Hank Botta said there was no pressure on Boma. We just told Christine to go out there and have fun, just enjoy her last race, so there was no pressure and nothing was expected of her. But obviously Christine's enjoyment is winning, and she duly won her race, and she did quite well if you take conditions into account with the start gun not working, he said, adding that Boma was a big star in Kenya. Christine is loved here in Kenya. The people are crazy about her. They cheered her during the race, and everybody just wanted to touch her and have a piece of her, have a photo with her, or even a signature. Everyone is just carrying her on their hands, and she is loved and she is in the hearts of the Kenyan people, and therefore we are truly thankful, the coach said.
A great woman writing a great story. In the last of our sports stories, most of them have been African sports stories, African qualifiers for the 2023 World Cup to be held in France. The African qualifiers for the 2023 Rugby World Cup will be staged as a knockout tournament in France next year, organizers said on Monday. The top 8 African teams will compete in the Rugby Africa Cup 2022 in France, which will serve as the last qualifying round for the 2023 World Cup. The African knockout tournament will be in July 2022, with the winning team directly qualifying for the World Cup and set to join hosts France, New Zealand's top-ranked All Blacks, Italy, and the America's #1 qualifier in Pool A. The runners-up will get a place in the final qualification tournament for the World Showpiece event. Wow, I'll certainly be paying attention to that. We certainly hope you've been paying attention to news from the top of the hour. After the break, we'll be bringing your headlines. Africa Good Morning has been streaming live from 7 a.m. And here are the headlines from today's top stories. Towards Africa's first mRNA vaccine technology transfer hub. Heroic return for 4 opponents of ousted Guinean president. Vaccinations ramp up in Africa, but it's still not enough. Samim captures insurgents training base. BIHL profits drop 24% on higher COVID-19 claims. And in sport, in Botswana, top athlete faces betting probe. Those have been our stories.
Thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Africa Good Morning. We look forward to hearing from you. You can send us your remarks regarding this show to agm_2centsworth@nmh.com.na. Alternatively, we are on Facebook and Twitter. It's at Africa Good Morning. We also have a website called OneUp2. Please do not forget to get vaccinated, wear your mask, and avoid unnecessary public gatherings. Remember that we are still in the middle of a pandemic. And on that note, is all my love, all my light.
Keep in mind, 21 September is Gratitude Day, and gratitude is a portal to abundance. See you tomorrow.